today is our third discussion about the topic of listening. We've talked about why listening is important, we've talked about some statistics around listening, and I've talked to you about the 3 levels of listening. So in this third and final video on listening, before we move into questioning, which is the other key component of communication, I'm going to talk to you a couple of statistics first, which I hope will be useful for you. One business, one personal. So the first business statistic is that a study conducted by Harvard Business Review found that the number 1 criteria for promotion for top executives and leaders in some large firms in the US is the ability of that executive or that leader to communicate. And of course, listening is a fundamental part of the communication mix. The second statistic is interesting, and it's that the number 1 reason quoted for the failure of marriages, this is some research done by a company called Listening Planet, number 1 reason for failure of marriages is a failure to be heard, listened to, and understood. So if you needed any more motivation to improve your listening skills, hopefully that's good enough for you. But today I'm going to talk to you about how you move to a place of active listening. So not sitting passively and listening or being distracted while listening. How do you become more consciously focused on active listening? And there's a few tips, so I'm going to try and keep it simple as I do in most of these video podcasts. But the first tip is, we talked about it last time, I'm going to reinforce it because it's really important, and that is parking your own agenda. So suspending your own interests, your own thoughts, and only focusing on the person that you are listening to. And whilst that might sound simple, it takes practice and it takes continued conscious effort. So parking your agenda is the first tip. The second is, when you're listening, to really lean in. So start to think about, how do you get closer to this person? Lean in on them and just focus your attention on them. And while you're doing that and listening to what they're telling you, get into the practice of repeating just key words or key phrases or the end of sentences, just so that it does a couple of things for you. One is it reinforces in yourself that you're listening to the other person, helps you to stay engaged. The other is it really demonstrates that you are listening. That's why we call it active listening rather than just sitting passively and listening. The third tip is around questioning. We talked about this last time. Only questioning on the other person's agenda or to learn more about the other person. And there's 2 really simple tips for questioning. And that is, when you want to question more deeply, you can simply use one of 2 phrases. One is just to simply ask the person, oh, what else happened? The other is just to say, oh, tell me more. And just those 2 key phrases will deepen your listening and the other person's ability to go further into the topic that they are talking about and that you're listening to actively. And then the final piece is linked to what we called level 3 global listening last time. And that is, alongside those 3 things, just notice the connection between you and the other person. Notice what happens between their body language, their words and their motions and their tone and expression. And just keep a check out for that continuity between what they're saying, the way they're saying it, and the way they're acting. And if you can do that and practice doing it over and over, you will strengthen your relationships, you'll deepen your listening, and the respect people have for you and the relationships that you build with other people will increase astronomically. Listening is the key component. I cannot overstate how important it is to get this skill developed as competently as you can. So I set you the third and final listening challenge to follow my brief today. Think about how you can deepen your listening, deepen your connection with key people around you, friends, family, loved ones, colleagues, your team, your manager if that's appropriate, and really start to look at how you strengthen those relationships. So, on the next podcast, we'll be looking at questioning. I wanted to cover listening before we go to questioning because it's important to get the skills in the right order. Once you learn to listen, then we can focus on your questioning because your questions will be linked to the quality of your listening. So I look forward to seeing you on the next series. I hope you enjoyed that deeper challenge around listening, and I look forward to hearing how you get on. And I'll see you on the next video from the Leadership Success Series from Focus for Growth. Thanks.